Thank you, Gary. Well, that was a great session. Thank you. Some brilliant ideas there. So we just have two questions that emerged. One from Alicia Lloyd, question to Jeremy. Is Jeremy still here? Yeah. Jeremy, this question is aimed at you. How does the Sydney Harbour model fit with the Marine Estate Management Authority, and do you think this committee is just window dressing?
Actually, I can't speak about the Marine Estate Management Authority because I only heard about it today. It could be. Certainly it's an authority without authority. Apparently its role is advisory. And governments do set up these bodies to give the appearance of things, of being in charge of issues when in fact nothing much changes. The two ministers who run this authority and the authority itself would have much more credibility if they set about facilitating all of the interests and stakeholders in the way I described earlier, so that the stakeholders of the various interests could organise themselves into a strong voice for their interests, so that they could truly engage in policy making and decision making, and so that they could truly participate in the management of the marine estate. If that's what this body does, if it looks below this high level structure to where the interests of the community are and actually facilitates their participation and their organisation and their ability to negotiate, then it wouldn't be window dressing, it would be the real thing. But I think we'll be waiting a long time for that to happen.
Thank you, Jeremy. The second question is from Frank Zonneveld. Is Frank still here? Yep, great. Thanks, Frank. The question is to Rick. And Frank would like to know, he's heard that a statistic that there are large fish species disappearing very fast, up to 90% already gone. Would sanctuaries help restore the balance?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the first things. Can you hear me? The large fish disappearing is one of the first impacts of fishing. Typically, most of the CBD indicators for tracking fishing impacts are based on, or at the moment they're based on trophic level, but they should be and will be based on size in the future. So definitely large fish species disappearing is the first sign of impact. It's also one of the first signs of recovery. And a study we've done with RLS data and the New South Wales Department of Primary Industries, whatever the section that manages the marine parks now, we've just done an analysis using the data from their monitoring data and the Reef Life Survey data, and even in the relatively young New South Wales network of marine parks, we're seeing exactly that, a recovery of an increasing frequency of large fish species in the marine parks. So it's even in some of the younger marine parks, it's one of the first things you see. So it's a good sign of recovery, yeah. Well, this is inside the marine park, don't forget. So it's a recovery inside the marine park. Whether that actually, someone else asked me before about spillover, and that's another issue altogether. And so when we're talking about the large fish being available for the fishers and things outside the marine park, that's a separate thing to when I'm talking about recovery of large fish species and things. I'm talking about inside the reserve. So spillover, I've actually got an interesting paper I just had as reading material on the plane that is one of the best examples I've seen of larval spillover and adult spillover contributing to increased catches of a species of fish across the whole South African coast. But those sort of examples are fairly rare, one reason being that the opportunities for larval replenishment outside marine reserves we haven't had, the global network of marine reserves is actually fairly young. So, these things will emerge more with time, but spillover, at the moment, it's tenuous. There's tenuous evidence to say that you will catch more big fish outside the marine reserve. So it's not one of our strongest lines of evidence that you can provide for fishers in terms of benefits outside the reserve. But there are definitely examples, and they're growing. Yeah. And it's also very species specific and location specific though.
We appear to have one question for Rick.
Is that larger fish in marine, New South Wales Marine Park, does that apply only to the no-take zones?
Yeah, so that's inside no-take zones. So every analysis that I've presented, considering reserves or parks as the no-take sections, the other parts between them are effectively fished zones. There's some activities that are restricted, but as far as the fish communities go, they're still indistinguishable from fish zones outside.
Okay, thank you, Rick. All right, congratulations, everyone. We've made it. It's only 10 minutes over time. I think we've done quite well. So congratulations to all the speakers. We'd really like to thank everyone who's contributed today and given a presentation. It's been incredible. Gary is saying something to me. What are you? Okay, Gary would like you to give those documents to him. If you can just pass them over. Thank you, Gary. Yes, amazing day, incredible speakers and participation by everyone in the workshops. Where to from here? Well, we will endeavour to write up the results of the workshop and sort of the key outcomes from all the presentations. John and Gary and Anasheen will beaver away at that. We will then communicate once the filming is completed and we've edited that. We will send a package, post-forum package, to all the participants so you get to see everything. We would like to encourage you then through that email to keep the dialogue going. What it's clear to us is that although many of us are beavering away, there are frustrations within our community, and we've heard from David and we've heard from Judy that we have a tendency to reinvent the wheel in our own little patches of concern, and that is frustrating. And I think where we have an opportunity at the moment where we have some receptive voices in government. Let's hope that we have a win on the table this week, where we have a government that's going to take strong leadership and declare a marine park for Sydney. If that is the outcome we have on Wednesday, we will need to commend the government quickly for that leadership. I would encourage you all to communicate your strong individual and organisational support to your local MP and to the government for making that bold and legacy-leaving decision for the people of Sydney, because that's important. MPs need to know that they are loved and that you care that they take these kind of decisions. However, they'll only be declaring a process. If they do make a decision, it'll be a process that they're declaring. So our collaboration as a group is going to be the thing that makes this work effectively. If they announce a tokenistic marine park for Sydney without significant large sanctuary zones within it, it's a failure. So the fight will start on Thursday when the rec fishing groups start to realize that a coalition government has created a reservation. And then the dialogue between all the stakeholders is where the hot discussion is going to be about which rock is going to be removed from the fishing zone and all the issues that are going to come up. So you need to stay in it, because if they make a decision this week, it's going to take 2 years before we fully see a marine park completed with the sanctuary zones we need. So your loyalty and enthusiasm and passion needs to stay for the long term. However, if the government decide it's too difficult a decision for them to make, then your hot passion and commitment needs to be fired up so that you can tell the government really loudly that they've lost an opportunity to make the right decision for Sydney and for the future of this a great state of ours. And that would be a complete disaster. So we need to stay together regardless of what happens. So I think that those are the important issues, I think, for us to consider.